Good morning, everyone. It's really exciting to be here. This is my first time to Turkey, in Istanbul, and I want to thank Volkan and Ahmet for organizing this event and for all the work that went into it, and also Daria and her team for putting it on and bringing all of us together today. I thought their introduction was really great to set the tone and lay kind of the groundwork for what we're going to talk about today. Thank you all for coming and for participating in this event and for spending your day with us to talk about Openstack. My name is Jonathan Bryce, and I am the Executive Director of the Openstack Foundation. The Openstack Foundation is a nonprofit company that organizes the global community of developers and users and companies who build and operate Openstack all around the world. As they mentioned, it's a very large community. We have members in about 160 different countries around the world, and we have around 27,000 members now, so very large, and we're glad to be here in Turkey with some of you today. They talked about the cloud and what the cloud is. I want to talk a little bit about that, and then also talk about where Openstack fits in that, and how Openstack is helping different organizations all over the world make better use of their technology. And I think that a lot of it comes down to one main trend that I see all over the world right now, and that is software. Software is becoming a key part of what every organization does. It really affects the way that everything in our world operates today, whether we are in the government, whether we're in research, whether we're in business, whatever we might be doing, software is such a key part of what we do. And more, the way that we build and run software becomes strategic to our organizations. And this is across every industry that's out there. And if you just look at some industries that you think of as traditional industries that are, maybe not technology industries even, but things like hotels, taxis, and retail, shopping, those have all had a huge change over the last 15 or 20 years thanks to software. And especially more recently with the shift to cloud and mobile applications. I was looking online yesterday when I got here and noticed that Airbnb, there are thousands of Airbnb places in Istanbul that you can stay. Uber is here in Istanbul now. It's in 58 different countries. And so these companies are coming into established industries and expanding all over the world thanks to the power of software and building software and using technology in that way. But it's not just about technology companies. It's not just about the Airbnbs and the Ubers. It's about all of us and what we do every day in our personal lives. We all probably have smartphones. The first computer that I learned to program on was an old x86 computer. It had a 30 megabyte hard drive. A 30 megabyte hard drive, and that was amazing in the 80s when I got it. This phone in my pocket is 1,000 times more powerful than that computer, and that's just in 25 years. So we all carry supercomputers in our pocket. We all have an incredible amount of computing capacity, and we have Fitbits, and we have the Internet of Things that creates massive data that we have to process and move and work with. We saw the video at the beginning about the network. If you are in the telco industry, you've probably heard of network functions virtualization. This is a big shift to move away from expensive hardware appliances and use software to route phone calls, to route data, to route mobile applications across the networks. And this impacts research organizations, this impacts government institutions and government agencies. Everyone is really involved in this move to software and modernizing the infrastructure that all runs on. And I think that if you look at all of these things, it all still comes down to three simple things that we want to do. We need to process data, we need to store data, and we need to move data. And Amit was talking about the transition from mainframe to client server to cloud. Throughout all of those transitions, these three things are what we want to do. We want to process data, we want to store data, and we want to move it. And that is what Openstack is really all about. It's about doing that in a more efficient way. So if you look at Openstack and the technology that it is, it's a framework, it's a set of services that let you do compute, networking, and storage. And it allows you to access those resources in a standard way through a set of APIs that you can then use to move more quickly and to take advantage of this. And I just want to dive down a little bit deeper and explain what this means. Openstack, again, is broken up into different services, compute, storage, and networking. And each of these services is built around an integration framework that ties in other technology. So on the compute side, it supports different hypervisors like Xen and VMware and KVM and others. On the storage side, there are dozens of different storage systems that plug into it. Open source storage systems like Ceph, as well as commercial storage systems from IBM and NetApp. And I know NetApp is speaking here today, so we'll hear some of what they do. On the networking side, again, dozens of different networking systems, software-defined networking, as well as traditional networking systems. And it takes all of those different systems and ties them together so that you can make use of them. And that's really, really important in today's technical landscape. It basically acts as an integration engine for all of these different technologies. So if you are currently using VMware, that gives you virtualization. But if you want to be able to go faster, if you want to be able to automate more, if you want to be able to develop software faster, then OpenStack can work with VMware to do that. If you are using KVM, if you are using Ceph, if you're using these new modern technologies, it can do that as well. And I think that is one of the trends that I see more and more is people want to be able to take new technologies, try them out, and use them where it makes sense. So I want to look a little bit at how that works. And as you look at technologies, you always have to balance maturity and how widely adopted something is. So you could kind of graph these out on different axes. And if you look at things that are not mature and not widely adopted, those are basically experiments. Those are new things that people are trying out. If there's something that becomes really popular really quickly, it's called a unicorn in Silicon Valley. Has anyone heard that term? I'm sure Volkan has. If there's something that is old but not widely adopted, that's a niche technology. But the things that get widely adopted, that have a lot of experience and maturity, those are the things that are the winning technologies that stick around for a long time. And if we look at how technology moves, it starts out as an experiment and eventually transitions up. So we were talking about virtualization and OpenStack. When we started OpenStack 5 years ago, virtualization was really starting to become mainstream and starting to be adopted. And we started OpenStack, and OpenStack was kind of an experiment. Now we move forward to 2015, and they're both mature and very widely adopted. And that's kind of how the technology moves. And if you look at just OpenStack specifically, as I mentioned, OpenStack has a lot of services. And you can look at those services on this same kind of framework. These are a bunch of different code names, but these are the compute services, the storage services, networking services, database services, identity management, all of the different things that OpenStack does. We'll come back to this slide in a minute. The important thing to understand is that OpenStack helps you take new technology, experiment, decide what's going to work, and then use it in production when it's mature. If we were to think about something that's a really hot technology with a lot of hype today, one thing that you might think about is containers. Have people heard of Docker? Has anyone heard of Docker? Yes, okay. So Docker is one of the hot new technologies. And there are a lot of them. There's Docker, and there's Ansible, there's CoreOS, and Rocket, and all of these different technologies. And it can be really confusing to figure out, what should I be using? Is it going to work for me? How do I deploy it? And so if we go back to this, we look at all these technologies. These are the technologies that are being developed right now that we all need to figure out, how are we going to make use of them? And Openstack actually has projects related to all of this that helps companies try out Docker, try out Kubernetes, try out Mesos, and do it all on top of their environment. And so that as you look forward, who's going to win in container technology? I don't know. But if you have laid down Openstack, because it gives you that solid foundation for compute, storage, and networking, whoever the winner is, you're going to be well positioned to take advantage of that. And the reason is because it all comes back to this. What do we want to do? We want to process data, store data, move data, compute, storage, and networking. And this is actually a really important point to understand too. Openstack is not just virtualization, because virtualization is a great utility, but it doesn't do everything you need. Sometimes people think about Openstack as just a way to manage virtual machines and VMs, but really it also has support for bare metal through different management systems. It can provision hardware directly if you need it. It can manage containers like Docker or Rocket inside of virtual machines, or it can manage containers directly. And it does all of that under a single API. And so that's really, really powerful. So that's kind of, I think, the stage for cloud and technology and what we're seeing a lot of businesses do today. The thing that is interesting from the Openstack perspective, and why Openstack is really valuable, is because it ties together hundreds of technologies underneath that one API. And it does that in whatever model you might need to use. When Volkan and Amit were doing the introduction, they talked about public cloud and private cloud and hybrid cloud. And that's the vision that we started Openstack for. We wanted to meet that vision. If you have a workload where you can run it in a public cloud, that might be really easy to do, a faster way to get your application deployed. But if you have a security requirement, or if you have a large data set that you can't move to the public cloud, then maybe you need a private cloud. Or maybe you need multiple clouds in different locations. Openstack is able to do that. And one of the things that we have recently rolled out from the Openstack Foundation is a standard set of tests and requirements across all Openstack products and services that ensure that when you go and make use of an Openstack cloud, it will look the same and act the same, whatever kind of cloud it is and wherever you might be getting it. And that's called Openstack Powered. So if you look for Openstack Powered, that's going to tell you that you're getting a common set of code and a common set of APIs, whether it's in a public cloud or a private cloud or hybrid. And this is what the logo looks like. And if you go to openstack.org/marketplace, you can see products and services that are in this program and that offer OpenStack. And it goes across a number of different services. So we had this chart earlier that had all of the different OpenStack services. And what you'll notice is if you look at what OpenStack Powered is about, it's really about those core services of compute, storage, and networking, and guaranteeing that whatever OpenStack environment you're in, you're going to have that solid foundation. And then you can add in the containers and you can add in the databases where you want to and as you see fit. So that's a really powerful set of technologies to build on, and it's available all over the world in a standard way. So the other thing that we've recently done, if you have all of these OpenStack clouds, and you have all of these resources, public, private, hybrid, that look and act the same, you'd really like to be able to make use of them the same way in a really simple fashion. In our most recent software release, we had support for federated identity, so federation among OpenStack clouds. And so if you have one OpenStack cloud that might be here in Turkey, and maybe you have another cloud that's in Hungary, where we're going next week, and you want them to be connected. You want to be able to use one set of authentication credentials across both of them. You can do that. You can also then connect up to a public cloud with one set of authentication credentials and have your resources shared across all of these different environments. And that's really, really powerful. And I want to talk a little bit about a use case that we did a demonstration for 2 weeks ago in Vancouver. We had our Openstack Summit, which we do every 6 months. We had it in Vancouver. There were about 6,000 people there from 60 different countries. And so it was a very large event, and we did a demonstration from the TV and film industry. And we probably all watch TV and movies at some point. But the thing that's really interesting about how TV and film production is happening now is it's becoming more and more globally distributed. So it's done all over the world, and more so than ever before. It's moving more to Asia and more to Africa. The other thing that they deal with is TV and film is shot in higher and higher quality. And so it was HD, and then it was Ultra HD, and they're moving towards 8K. And 1 hour of footage takes up 780 gigabytes. So that's a very large amount of data. And it's really interesting, the problems that they have. In the US, a 1 hour TV show is 44 minutes of content. And in order to get 44 minutes of content, they actually shoot 216,000 minutes of footage. They shoot 3,600 hours of footage because they have multiple cameras, and they do multiple takes, and they're shooting all day long on these shows. And they're doing this at any place in the world, South Africa or Canada or wherever. And so the process that they go through is they have to take all of that footage, 3,600 hours, and cut it down to 44 minutes. And they may be doing this from one location and working with people in Los Angeles or working with people in Europe or Australia. And so that is a perfect use case for cloud. And there's a company that's called Digital Film Tree that came in and did this demo with us. And they talked about, these are the issues that they're facing. They have all of these regions that they're working in. They have all of these clouds that they have to make use of, OpenStack, Amazon, and they don't want to be shipping data physically, because that's what they used to do. They would shoot footage on a camera, they'd take the disk out, and they would ship it to wherever it needed to go. And so they built a cloud environment that is multiple clouds that are all connected together using OpenStack. And so in this particular case, the company had a private cloud in Los Angeles, a private cloud in Vancouver for a television show that they were shooting, and then they made use of HP's OpenStack public cloud, and they had a hosted private cloud at a company called Blue Box. And so they had all of these different cloud environments that they were using, because they would shoot this footage, they would have to transcode it into different formats, they would have to edit it, do color correction, special effects, get reviews from the producers and the director and all this kind of thing, and move it all around. And so they created this environment, and using federation technology, they connected it all, so it looked like one big set of cloud resources in all of these different locations, public and private. That's really, really powerful. And it really changed the way that they were able to build their business and to work. Because if they suddenly need more compute capacity, if they need to do more rendering, they don't have to go buy a bunch of servers. They can make use of HP's public cloud. If they need a secure place to put that final cut, because the television studio doesn't want that leaking before the show airs, they can put that in their private cloud. And so a very powerful setup here using federated identity. The other thing that's really cool about this is, this is a new feature, but OpenStack is powerful not just because of the technology, but because of the companies that work with OpenStack. There are hundreds of companies who have OpenStack products and services and make use of it. And over 30 of them have announced that in 2015, they're going to have federated identity support in their products. And these companies are on 6 continents. You can guess which continent we don't have a federated OpenStack cloud on. It's Antarctica. But they're all over the world, and they are public clouds and private cloud providers that enable this, are going to be enabling this capability in 2015. So just like Digital Film Tree built out their federated cloud that they can work in, you can all take advantage of that this year and be able to build cloud environments like that. And so that is really key, getting back to what we were talking about, really key to being able to build new products and services, to be able to do software development faster, and to be able to make our organizations more effective, make our businesses more profitable and more competitive in the global economy. So that, I think, is a really exciting announcement. And when you think about a global connection across all of these OpenStack clouds, public, private, hybrid, when you think about all of those technologies that are supported on the compute and the storage and the networking, that's what when we talk about the OpenStack powered planet, that's what we mean. We're really getting to this point where all over the world, we all have access to this incredible technology so that we can take advantage of all of the data that we're producing, of all of the opportunities that we have to connect better, to work better, to be more efficient, and to build more value. That's, to me, why I love working on OpenStack, why I love coming to these events. This morning, we talked with a couple of Turkish users of OpenStack. We're going to be hearing from them later today, so I'm excited to hear from them as well. But it's so cool to see how this is happening all over the world and how people are doing it. So to wrap up, I just wanted to mention a couple of other things that we just launched within the last couple of weeks so that you guys can all learn about it and be in the loop. When you have a cloud environment, it's great to have compute, storage, and networking, but ultimately, you want to be able to run applications on there. You want to be able to do something that is is really useful for your business. And so we just launched what we are calling our Community App Catalog. And it's a set of applications that you can install using OpenStack services into an OpenStack cloud. And so you can go to apps.openstack.org, and we just launched this, so it's just getting started, but it already has technology like Cloud Foundry and Kubernetes and some of these newer technologies. It also has things like Oracle Database. So it's a pretty cool resource already. But I'd love for you to go check it out, and if you have applications that you're running in your OpenStack environment, you can share the packaging for that through this with the rest of the community so that we can all benefit from that work. So that's one thing. The other thing that I wanted to mention is if you really want to get involved in OpenStack, Lauren and I later are going to be talking about what to do next and how to get involved in different ways in the OpenStack community. But one of the best things to do is to try to come to our OpenStack Summit events. They're events that we do every 6 months, and we move them all around the world so that we can reach different communities. And we usually have, as I mentioned, we had, I think, 6,000 registered in Vancouver. We were in Paris 6 months ago and had about 4,500 there. So big events, lots of people from all over the world. The next one is going to be in Tokyo in October. And then after that, we will be in Austin, Texas next year in April. And then we'll be coming back to Europe next October to Barcelona. And so if you can come to any of those events, those are great events, great ways to get connected with the rest of the OpenStack community and to participate. So that's all I had to talk about this morning. As they mentioned, we'll be doing another session this afternoon and talking about how to get involved in OpenStack and also taking any questions that you might have. So think about anything that you want to ask about, and I will see you then. But for now, thank you very much.